guys, welcome back to my channel. So recently on Snapchat I did a little sneak peek of the foundations I want to test out over the next little while, and I had you guys kind of like vote on which ones you wanted to see the most, and one of the foundations that had the most votes was the Covergirl Outlast Stay Fabulous 3-in-1 foundation. So that is what I'm going to be testing out for you guys today. As always, if you enjoy these foundation reviews, please hit the thumbs up button down below. That way I will continue doing them in the future. And if you are new to my channel, I would love if you would hit subscribe down below so you can keep an eye out for all of my future videos. I love testing out these foundations for you guys because I know not a ton of people out there with acne and scarring and everything are reviewing foundations, and it's hard to find a good review when you have problematic skin, because when someone has perfectly flawless skin, it's really hard to say whether or not the foundation is going to work for you. So that's why I absolutely love doing these reviews. I absolutely love when you guys tell me that I've helped you out in finding a foundation or like saved you some money or anything like that. It makes me so happy. Also, my bird will not stop singing in the background of my videos recently, so I apologize for that. He's just singing away out there. He's just a happy little bird. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about this foundation. I looked online for the US prices and it seemed to range anywhere from like $8.50 to like $11 roughly. I believe I paid $13 or $14 for this on sale at Shoppers. You do get the standard 1 fluid ounce. Packaging is just a glass bottle with a pump, and then the pump you can actually twist open or close, which is nice. For shades, this does come in a total of 14 different shades. I got the shade 910 Classic Ivory. I did notice online that the US numbering for the shades is different. For instance, I'm 910 in the Canadian range, but I'd be 810 in the States. It's still the same shade, just different numbers. They say that this foundation is supposed to have the coverage of a concealer, which sounds very full coverage. From reviews, I've gathered that it's like medium but buildable. Some people said that to get a really good full coverage, you do have to use a lot of product, so we'll see about that. And also from what I could gather, it's supposed to have kind of like a satiny finish. CoverGirl doesn't make a lot of claims about this product, honestly. The only thing they really say about it is that it is supposed to be a primer, concealer, and foundation all fused into one. It's supposed to give you smooth and even coverage, and it has an SPF of 20. They say you can apply it with either your fingers or a sponge, so I am going to use the Beauty Blender today. I cannot find any of my pink hair clips, so I'm gonna have to like tie up part of my hair or something and figure something out, but I will be back in 2 seconds to apply this foundation. I put my bangs in a sad little ponytail, and with my like out of control baby hairs and everything, I feel like a sassy little toddler. I primed the right half of my face accidentally again, but I used the Tarte Clean Slate Flawless Brightening Primer, and like I said, I'm going to be using the Beauty Blender to apply this. So I'm just going to get one pump on the back of my hand to start. So this foundation is a lot more liquidy than I was expecting for some reason. Like, it's quite thin in texture actually. As you can probably see, it's like sliding down my hand. So let's just start applying this. So that is what one half of my face looks like applied with the Beauty Blender. I think I'm going to try the other face with a brush just to see how it compares, but it did give okay coverage. It was definitely more medium to start, I would say, and it did have to be built up. I did take like probably another half pump of foundation, which I didn't quite use all of it, and I just built it up in this area, but it's still not like completely covering scarring or anything like that. But it's not terrible coverage at all. Like, it looks fine. I think I am going to quickly grab a foundation brush though, just to see. I just want to see how it compares, honestly. Alright, so I just took a little bit more foundation and I'm going to apply it with a brush on this side of my face. This is just the Sigma F80. It's like a tiny, little bit dirty. I started applying foundation with it the other day and then changed my mind. So I'm going to pick it up and start applying with this. Liking the brush quite a bit better. It just gave me kind of more instant full coverage. Like, it's a little bit better coverage on this side, and this side I had to build it up a little bit already. So I'm definitely preferring the brush. It was also extremely easy to apply. Like, it went on so easily, and it took me like a fraction of the time that it took with the Beauty Blender. I'm just gonna quickly kind of go over this side of my face with the brush just to kind of even it out. I'm having a hard time getting the foundation to really stick to my nose, so that's why I'm just going back in with the Beauty Blender quickly. That helped a little bit, but it's still, I don't know, coverage is a little bit weird right there. So I think the shade is pretty good. It's a little bit more like neutral pink than I would like, but the shade below this was even more pink, and then the other shades would have been too dark, so this was the best match for me personally. The foundation is drying down fairly quickly, and it's taking on more of a matte finish, I would say. Like this side is a little bit more dry, and you can see there's not a ton of shine. This side's still a little bit shiny because it's still a little bit like stickier and more wet. I think it is true that you do need quite a bit of product just to get it up to a really good amount of coverage if you do have acne and scarring like myself. Like it didn't quite cover like my actual active breakouts and stuff like that. It looks okay, but I'm not loving the look of it, honestly. It's so gross. I'm like sweating on my upper lip and it's making it look like I have a mustache because the foundation's wearing off a little bit. It is a little bit streaky and a little bit patchy when I get closer up. I don't know, I think it looks fine, but it's not like the most flattering at this point anyways. And now that it is drying more, I'd say it's taking on a slightly more powdery kind of finish. I don't know, I don't dislike it, but I'm not like, wow, this looks amazing on my skin, if you know what I mean. It really is just like sitting kind of funny in some areas, but I'm gonna zoom you guys in before I go ahead and do my concealer and everything like that. So I used the NYX HD concealer and then just a very light dusting of the RCMA No Color powder. I did do a little bit of spot concealing just in my couple active breakouts that I have in this area. That's the one thing. I feel like it didn't do the best job covering active breakouts. So I would say if your problem is more active breakouts, how many times can I say that in one sentence? If that's more your problem, unlike me where I have mostly just like scarring and pigmentation, I would say probably skip this foundation and just go for something a little bit more full coverage. A couple things. This foundation set really well on its own, which after trying the Tarte Hybrid Gel last week, that was like a breath of fresh air. Even by the time I like went and grabbed my brow products and my powder and sat down to start applying them, it had already set. It did set a little bit too matte for my liking. It was a little bit chalky looking up close personally, but if you are someone who likes to not use a powder, you might really enjoy that. However, I did have an issue because of that, because it dried and set so completely on its own. When I went to apply my concealer, particularly on my nose, when I went to start blending it out with the Beauty Blender, it kind of picked up the concealer and took the foundation with it. So I was left with like I did a line down the center of my nose like I usually do, and I was left with that perfect line with no makeup. Hopefully that makes sense. Concealer just didn't blend out super well over top of this, so I would say this is a foundation that you need to work extremely quickly with. I think I mostly fixed it, but if my nose looks a little bit patchy or funny, that's why. I just ran into some issues there, and even blending out the concealer around my brows was a little bit difficult. That's like my last step. And it was hard to blend out. It just kind of stuck in place on top of the foundation. So in my close-ups, if it looks like I have like super highlighted brows, that is why. Hopefully it's not too bad, but yeah, just a little bit more matte than I would like. Like I said, you definitely need to work fast with it. So it's definitely a foundation that I would say like do one area of your face at a time, blend it out and like take your time with it as much as you possibly can, because once it's on, it's like set. You can't fix patchiness or streakiness or anything like that. In terms of the actual feeling on my skin, it's kind of like a perfect in-between. Like it feels like I have makeup on. It's not like feather light, undetectable, but it also doesn't feel heavy and mask-like. It's just like what you kind of expect a foundation to feel like. And I think it actually does look pretty smooth and flawless on my skin, aside from the couple parts that ended up a little bit patchy like around my mouth. It looks pretty nice in terms of pores actually. It's actually looking pretty good. Like it looks relatively smooth, I think. I think that's all I kind of had to say for now. It's looking good, but at the same time, I'm not like in love with it. I started applying this at 1:30, so that'll be our kind of guideline as we go through our check-ins throughout the day. You guys know the drill. I'm gonna do my close-ups, gonna finish off my makeup, everything like that, and I will check in with you guys later on. Foundation on for 7 hours, and I think it looks pretty good. The one thing I feel like that is keeping me from really liking it is the fact that it's just a little bit too matte for my personal preferences. I feel like if my skin was still super oily, I would love this foundation though. I can tell from the way it dried down so nicely and set on its own, and just like the way it feels and everything now, that this foundation is not going anywhere. It doesn't transfer, it's not wearing off, it's just like not budging at all. The lighting is making my contour look so dramatic here, but I feel like my skin just honestly looks a little bit dull currently with this foundation, so I would say not for like normal to dry skin, more for like combo oily skin types. I can totally see why this is a popular foundation though for people who do have oily skin, because it just locks right into place and just like sticks to your skin and it's not going anywhere basically. And I have to say it's doing a remarkable job smoothing the look of like pores and texture or anything. I feel like my skin looks very smooth and flawless with it on. Maybe I would like this a little bit better if I mixed in a little bit of my L'Oreal Magic Lumi primer to give it a bit more light and a little bit more hydration, because on my skin currently it's just a little too matte and a little bit too chalky. I feel like on a more oily skin type though, it would have a nice velvety matte finish and it wouldn't be quite so dry. But I think that is going to be all for this check-in. Of course, I will be talking with you guys later on in the day to give you my full conclusion for this foundation. This is going to be my final check-in. It is just after 12:30, so I've had this foundation on for 11 hours now. I'm not going to do pros and cons today. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I just kind of feel like chatting about my thoughts on this product. So first of all, it does have really, really good coverage. I personally don't think it was the best for covering active breakouts. I'm sure there are people out there with active acne who absolutely love this foundation, but I just personally think there's better options out there. If you are someone who does have a lot of actual active breakouts, there's just better foundations out there like Kat Von D that you can just put on one layer and you're good to go, but that's also me not liking doing spot concealing afterwards as well. It did cover my scarring and redness extremely well though. I would definitely consider it a solid medium to buildable coverage product. Definitely applied better with the brush though for sure. Once again, this is a foundation that you have to work extremely fast with. You don't get a ton of time to blend it out, so you have to work really quickly to ensure that you're not getting any patchiness or streakiness, because like I said, if you do like miss a little spot and it's looking a little bit funky, you're gonna be stuck with it looking like that all day. This foundation did set completely on its own, and I think this is honestly a foundation you could get away without using powder, unless you are like extremely oily. Then you're probably just gonna want to powder just for the extra security, but you know. As I talked about earlier though, I did run into some problems when applying my concealer and everything like that, just because it did set so quickly, so just tying back to you need to work really fast with it. It's also done a fantastic job minimizing my pores. Like I feel like I look very nice and smooth in here and on my nose and my forehead and everything. You can still see the texture like more in this area where it's more scarring related, but for pores, did a really great job minimizing them for sure. And it's just giving my skin a nice smooth, even kind of finish while still not feeling heavy or mask-like at all. So basically, I would recommend this product for very oily skin types. If you have more normal to dry skin, I just think you're gonna have the same experience I have, where you feel like it's a little bit dull and a little bit chalky looking on your skin. I am going to continue to test out this foundation with more hydrating products like my Magic Lumi primer that I mentioned earlier, because I am so impressed with the longevity of it that it makes me want to try it out more and see if I can make it work for my more normal skin. If it hadn't held up so well and worn so well, I probably wouldn't be as impressed, and it probably wouldn't be a product I would reach for as much, just because I don't like the matte finish. If my skin goes back to its full oiliness after I'm done taking Accutane, I could see myself really liking this product. Like this is a product that I would reach for on like a full work day when I'm like, no, I'm going to have my makeup on for like 15 to 16 hours and I need something that I can really trust to last and require minimal touch-ups. So to sum up, I think this is a good foundation, not a favorite of mine at the moment, and not something that like completely wowed me, but I definitely see the appeal, and I think that if you do really like a matte finish, that you will absolutely love this product. I think it's just a good, solid, reliable, long-wearing foundation, and it's really solid. Like there's honestly nothing I really heavily dislike about it. Like it's been good, honestly, and it's also super affordable as well, which is always a bonus. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. I am at Sarah Rihanna on all three. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe down below if you haven't already. That way you can keep an eye out for all my future videos. And I will talk to all of you guys in my next one. Bye guys.